Hey guys, I am in Zion National Park today to do an unusual lens comparison. Today I'm going to be comparing the Fuji 80mm 2.8 macro lens to the 16mm 1.4 lens. Before I get into this unusual lens comparison, I first want to thank the people over at Fuji Pro Rentals North America for hooking me up temporarily with that 80mm lens. If you're looking to shop for either of these lenses and want to try it out before you buy, this is a great place to go to rent one. So yeah, this is an unusual lens comparison. I realize this, but let me explain why. And as I do that, please understand, this won't be a quick comparison. I like to take my time in videos and tell a little bit of a story, show you the sights that I see, and take some interesting video as well as stills. So if you're not into that, if you're not interested in that, then, you know, this may not be the video for you. For those of you who don't mind sauntering along with me as I show you what these lenses are capable in a very interesting environment, I hope that you'll come along and enjoy the journey. I like extremes. I'm drawn to them. People who know me know that I either really, really love something or really, really hate it. There's not a lot of middle ground with... Similarly, when I go out to shoot, I mean, for years, we only shot with two lenses for everything we did, and that was the 85mm and the 35mm. Those were just the two lenses we picked. But nowadays, I'm more into the 24mm and the 85mm. Those are kind of the two that I'm drawn to. 50mm, I mean, even 35, it's kind of ho-hum. It's kind of like what we see all the time. So I really like going a little bit more extreme and what you can get with that. And so for me, these two lenses are awesome and right up there among my favorites, not only because of the focal length, but just because they're awesome lenses. So why am I comparing them? Well, to understand that, you have to go back to a video I did on the 16mm 1.4. In that video, I talked about how much I love shooting macro with it. Someone was quick to point out that it's not truly macro, and they are right. Technically, the 16 1.4 will not shoot true macro photos. To understand why, we need to talk about magnification. In the Fuji lens lineup, the 80mm 2.8 macro lens is the only lens that provides a true 1:1 reproduction ratio. This means that at its minimum focus distance of 9.8 inches or 25 centimeters, the width of an object being photographed in real life is that same size on the sensor. This leaf, for instance, is roughly the same width as the Fuji APS-C size sensor, 0.9 inches or 23 millimeters. So at this minimum focus distance, you'll see that it's about edge to edge. But the 16mm lens has roughly 1:4 max reproduction ratio, so you'll see that at the minimum focal distance, the leaf is roughly 1/4 the width of the sensor. But of course, no video about macro photography would be complete if it did not include an example of proper macro photography shooting technique. I like how this little wash looks like actually looks like a sweeping canyon as a macro shot. I think that might be interesting. I love these frosty leaves. There's a shot in here somewhere. This isn't really macro, but I just saw some bighorn sheep over there. My GH5 was on the other side, so I couldn't go grab it before they were already gone. I did squeeze off some shots with that 80mm that I think they're pretty cool. So clearly, if you consider yourself a macro photographer, obviously there isn't really any question of which of the Fuji lenses you're going to get. I haven't mentioned it, but there is that 60mm 2.4. I've owned that lens. It also is not a macro lens though. It is a 1:2 on the magnification ratio. So it's not really, it shouldn't be labeled as a macro. And it's a fine lens. I don't think it's good for macro or even detail shots for that matter. Without that magnification, it's probably just going to disappoint you. Great portrait lens though. But anyway, that 16 1.4, we can see here now that obviously it's not a macro lens. However, it can get some really cool detail shots, especially when you want a wider field of view. So if you're an amateur or a professional macro photographer who really cares about getting in as close as possible to the really fine details of things, of course, the 80mm is the lens for you. So end of story, right? Why am I talking about these two lenses as far as macro goes if the 16mm is not really going to compete at the macro level? And the reason is because as nature photographers out for a hike, a lot of times what we want is not quite macro. And wedding photographers, we want textures. We do want to get into those details, maybe ring shots and other things. But that, again, isn't exactly macro, and I think you may consider the 16mm still because you don't necessarily need to go in as close as that 80mm will allow you to go. And not only that, but I find that wide field of view can be so pleasant and so wonderful to use. Keep in mind also that 16mm 1.4 is going to get amazing out of focus background. A lot of people consider wide angles to be not the lenses you'd pick for bokeh, but that 16mm is definitely the exception. The other thing I like about this lens is that not only can you isolate your subject from the background very well, but you can also use it as an environmental portrait lens when it comes to those detail shots. So you can incorporate more of the background to complement your subject. So it's a very interesting field of view. On the other hand, what the 16mm 1.4 lens cannot do when it comes to details is get those close abstract shots where the subject is less interesting than the geometry, which for many of us is what makes macro photography so interesting. Well, I've explored this nature trail enough. It's not a proper Zion hike, but I wanted to go along the river to try to find interesting things to do macro shots of, but kind of bored of that now. Time to do something else. But on the way out of Zion, I'm going to stop by one more place. I've had a lot of fun shooting with both these lenses and comparing how well they each do at shooting fine details. If you're a nature photographer or a hobbyist and you're looking to capture amazing detail shots, both of these lenses can be enjoyable and interesting to shoot with. If you like wide shots with an amazing close focus and surprisingly good bokeh, the 16mm 1.4 will not disappoint. But if you're more interested in extremely fine details or striking abstract photos, the 80mm 2.8 will be a better bet. As for me, I don't think I could part with either of them. Who knows, maybe Fuji Pro Lentils will just forget that I have their 80mm lens.